Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, good day, and shalom to everyone. My name is Miriam Jaskierowicz Arman, and we are going to be sharing this hour every Tuesday night at 9 o'clock. Sometimes I'll have guests, and sometimes I won't. Sometimes I'll share new ideas with you and sometimes old ones. But I hope that together we're going to be able to find a language where we can communicate and we can take from each other. I'd love to hear from you, always. You can always contact me at soulreflections9@aol.com. And very soon, we're going to be live, so then you'll be able to call in and we can actually talk together. Today's a very special day for me, and I want to dedicate this show to my father. He would have been 83 years old today. Today's his secular birthday. He's actually born on Simchas Torah. But every year it works out that something happens on his birthday that is really special and important in my life. It's almost like he puts his hand on me and he says, okay, here I am. Remember me. Well, Papa, you're always remembered. You're always in my heart, and I love you, and I know that you're directing traffic up there. And please, intercede for us down here. We need your help. And talk to Hashem to give us peace and to give us joy in our lives and happiness. It's just after Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur. It's the beginning of a new year. We're in the middle of Sukkot, and it's special time. So know that you're always in my heart. No matter where I go to speak, no matter what I do in my life, my work is always dedicated. So I wish to start with my dedication of all of my programs for the coming year. To you, Aviva, my beloved daughter, my beautiful spirit, my inspiration, I dedicate my work as an expression of my life. Your memory lives on in my writings, my teachings, and my very essence as a human being. Your legacy continues in every word, every thought, always and forever. To you, my father, Jonas Jaskierowicz, I cherish your memory, your Judaism, your teachings, your wisdom, your integrity, and your truth. Give that my life does you honor. To my ancestors, the sages, to 6 million who perished, my guides, my tradition, my people, whose history and tragedies have shaped who I am. Ani ma'amin. I believe. I've traveled so far. I've come so far. Child of concentration camp surviving parents, born in Germany, lived in Germany until I was 16, then coming to the United States and starting my life. Education, marriage, children. I've lived lifetimes in this life. Lifetimes. And Soul Reflections, my book, is a kaleidoscope of color, because my paintings are in there as well, and my poems. And it is a personal odyssey through my life. I have been blessed with so many incredible things, and I have found out that I'm so much stronger than I ever thought that I could possibly be, and I could go through so much pain and so much heartache. And I have found out that no matter where I've lived in the world and no matter what I've done in the world, I am just a Jewish woman that is looking to find her place, to do good in my teaching, in my writing, in my communication with people. I have tried and am trying to reach for a better world. My existence is geared toward making it better for everybody. It's very lofty, and sometimes I get very tired because I don't feel that I'm doing enough. I don't feel that what I'm doing is significant enough. And then something will happen that just takes all that and makes me realize that my life is charmed. Hashem has put me into a place that is Gan Eden on earth, a place in Brooklyn, New York, called Crown Heights. And after all the traveling, and after so many years of being away from Judaism and away from home, He's brought me home. So our conversations are going to be personal, very personal. And the guests that I'm going to have are going to share in our journey together. In 1991, I was living in Budapest, Hungary, and I was invited by the Ministry of Culture of the Ukraine to come to the Ukraine and basically be the first impresario, Western impresario in the Ukraine. The opportunity of that was immense. I mean, I got to teach in the most spectacular opera houses. I traveled all over the Ukraine, created CD recordings and music for international CD labels. Professionally, my life has been extraordinary. I've done so many fantastic things. I produced a movie on the famous Italian opera singer. His name is Beniamino Gigli. When I lived in Italy for 8.5 years. I produced CD recordings, music that had been closed up in the Soviet Union for more than 40 years, and brought it to the West. I toured Ukrainian orchestras and artists into the West. I've done incredible things. I've had so much success in a way, and so much personal tragedy in another. And as we get to know each other better, And as we talk about all of these things, you will meet me and know me, and I will meet you, hopefully. And we will find that even though our lives may be very different from each other, we all have a combining factor. And that factor is great belief and the understanding that there is a guiding force, that there is something tremendous and powerful in our lives that leads us. Hashgacha pratit, coincidence, or the lack of it, I should say. In 1991, I sat in a synagogue in Kiev. I had an appointment. I was still living in Budapest. Had an appointment with the Minister of Culture in Kiev for a conversation, and I waited for a couple of days, and she wanted to see me on Yom Kippur. I'm not sure that she really decided that she wanted to see me on Yom Kippur because it was Yom Kippur, but it just happened to work out that way. Hashgacha pratit. And I said, no, I'm sorry. On Yom Kippur, I go to synagogue. Well, I was told if you don't see her, then you might as well go back because she is leaving town and your appointment won't be able to be rescheduled. And I said, well, I'm terribly sorry, but I need to be in synagogue. In the many years that I was really away from Yiddishkeit, such as what I consider Yiddishkeit to be now, after or during the time that I'm doing tshuva, and I will be doing tshuva for the rest of my life, as most Balei Tshuva do, and returning to my roots, returning to who Hashem, my God, has meant me to be. So here I was in Kiev, and Kiev in 1991 was not a very exciting place to be. It was just after cessation from Russia. There wasn't very much of anything, and I went to find the synagogue. And in the synagogue in Kiev, I refound my connection to God. I walked in, and it was just heartbreaking to see what happened to a once flourishing Jewish community. What happened to Russian jewelry right there in front of me? Broken benches, dark sanctuary, barely a light over the Torah cabinet. People, so few, but they all looked like they were broken. They all looked like they were afraid. They were bent. They were dark. They had no light. Yet they came. And there I sat in the women's section above the big sanctuary, and I looked at 40 years of communism. I looked at years and years and years of Jewish destruction. I looked at pain. I looked at pogroms. I looked at my people. I looked at so much history. I looked at so many tears. I looked at so much destruction of our sociological, psychological, human being that we are. And I looked at the people that still came, and the people that still held, and the people that still believed. And I sat in the sanctuary and I began to cry. And I cried from the beginning of Yom Kippur until the end of Yom Kippur. And I said, God, don't you realize I cannot lead this ship anymore? My life is a total shambles. I don't know where to go. I don't know what to do. I don't know how to handle it anymore. I have no idea what you want from me. Because everything I've tried, everything I've done, and I've been so successful professionally, but personally, I just don't have any direction. I have no guidance. I have nowhere to go. I've walked away from me, from my neshama, a long time ago. Please help me. Just a few weeks later, I had my answer. Loud and clear. I had to be totally blind not to see that this was what I was looking for. And, of course, I understood it. And from that moment on, my life changed. And I left Budapest. I actually moved to Kiev. The opportunity presented itself to become the first Western impresario, and I did a job. I did a great job. I enjoyed it. But Hashem really took me into Midbar personally, because I had very, very little social contact with people. And since I've never done very well with Goyim, I did very well business-wise, as usual, but my personal life was completely dedicated to restructuring my value system, my Yiddishkeit level, if you will. I began going to shul, and in shul, in temple, in synagogue, I met a rabbi who was very young and very, very energetic and very powerful, and in a very short time transformed that very broken community into a blooming community again. He was extraordinary, and we had many conversations, and he gave me a picture of a Rebbe, and we really didn't go into it. All he said to me was, keep that with you always. And I did. I stuck it into my wallet, and for years it stayed with me. And then for some reason, I don't know why, but I lost it, and only very recently, a couple of years ago, I found it. I'll share that story with you another time. It's an incredible story. But suffice it to say, I really didn't know who that Rebbe was, except that a number of years ago, I found out that this was the Lubavitcher Rebbe. And the Lubavitcher Rebbe has been guiding my life right into Crown Heights for the past 9 years. The road has been arduous. It's been difficult. It's been very painful. The losses have been great. The tragedies in my life are many. But Hashem gave me an extraordinary capacity to go beyond and to always pick myself up again and to always find a way to make it positive, to take the worst things that have happened in my life and realize that they are positive. So, besides the dedication to my father today, I would like to dedicate this whole next year of our association together to the Lubavitcher Rebbe. My book, Soul Reflections, came out a year and a half ago, and it was brought to me, finished, except there were a number of problems with it. The name, Jaskierowicz, which is my father's name, and which I took after he passed away, Zichrono Livracha, was missing the I in the last part of the name. And in the dedication, which I read to you, the last very significant line was also missing. And I realized that something was not right with the book. It was not right. And I had to figure out what it was. So I took the poems and I restructured them. I took the paintings and I restructured those and I put them together in another way. But nothing, absolutely nothing, satisfied me. And one night, as I do so many times, I sit at the computer very late and I'm writing. And I'm just sitting in front of a blank screen, and I said to the Rebbe, I said, what am I going to do? I can't figure out what I need to do in order to put this book together and be satisfied with it. Would you please help me out here? Well, very shortly thereafter, my fingers began to move across the keyboard, and this is what came. My gift, thank you, to the Rebbe. Enlightenment is offered to one who seeks a beginning, an end, a future, today. Forever unaware on the conscious plane, knowledge to be felt yours and mine, now. Conceive your own perfection, accept wholeness, totally experience infinity, universe. Yours is the essence of self. The light returns me home, I am welcome. Choices have indicated my journey. Fast, furious events, reeling emotions, intellect, facing dark nights of the soul, illuminate my perceptions. An opening, past demands my waiting, yearning, hopeless, endless. Hope endlessly speeds the celebration of life. My beingness moves through the process, ignites flames, validates the journey, the fervent quest, my life, existence. Forgive judgments, foibles, faithlessness. Free me at last to be, to fly, to soar, be one, be me. I didn't change a word on the way I wrote this poem. I left it exactly the way it was. I sent it off. I made it number one. Of course, I made it number one. I changed everything so the sequence should be right. I sent it off. A few weeks later, it was finally published. And 4 months later, the National Center for Jewish Cultural Arts nominates the book for the 2004 Pulitzer Prize. Believe me when I tell you that I never expected such an honor. And I'm very grateful to the Center for having done that for me. But Soul Reflections has opened up enormous, enormous doors for me. Soul Reflections opened up the Shluchim office of Chabad, and I became a speaker for Chabad, and I go wherever they send me and speak about Tshuva, speak about my road, speak about how I got to Crown Heights. So this is the road. I was born in Germany. I came to America when I was 16, lived in America. In 1970, moved to Israel, lived in Israel until 1974. 1974 to 1980, lived in America again. From 1980 until 1990, I lived in Italy. From 90 to 92, I lived in Budapest, Hungary. 92 to 95, I lived in Kiev. 95 to 2004, I lived in Florida. And just before Shavuos of this year, I moved to Crown Heights. And the reason I moved before Shavuos is because I actually wanted to receive my own Torah at 770 Eastern Parkway, which is the Lubavitcher Rebbe's shul. And I want to share with you my first poem in Crown Heights, Shavuot, my covenant. I knew where I was, this place already familiar, beloved, the hard benches, the sea of black coats and hats, the beards, the swaying, the aura, the ruach. Here, sounds are audible to the conscious, yet palpable, tangible only to the unconscious. Here, effect you cannot touch, yet recognize you can, memorable sensations deep inside. Inside, the Holy of Holy opens to cantillations, ripping apart well-structured walls, cemented by hundreds of reasons for doubt, sensing, allowing, accepting deep emotions. Tears well up, spilling over, nourishing, understanding, innate expressions of knowing, sharing the awesome power of my Rebbe, sent to this world to nurture each, my soul, to strengthen, fortify, uphold a multitude of words, thoughts, and laws, gifted me, us, for safekeeping, for guidance and rewards in another world, in the other world. A choice born of strife and pain to a people ready to accept without question, acknowledge without demand, sustain without exception, the balance of living internally and externally all at once. Spiritual, blessed, awaiting Mashiach because of the promise, the belief, because of the trust in the one who made us his choice, our acceptance. My need brings me here to follow, to learn, to live, to love, to be, to understand, to comprehend, to observe, absorb, be whole, be at one with the one. Complete his desire to dwell inside of me, to find a home, a love and comfort of joy and fulfillment. His legacy to me, my receiving and accepting, our completion, blessings today and always. This was written on the 28th of May, 2004. I cannot tell you what it meant for me to leave Florida, my house, all of the creature comforts of my life, and turn in the square footage of mundane living for the spiritual expansion of my apartment in Crown Heights. The story of how I got to Crown Heights is really, really quite amazing. I've been teaching in New York every 4 or 5 weeks. I go there to take care of my students on the East Coast. And as it happened, I started teaching Hashgacha Pratis again, of course. Coincidentally, Lubavitcher students. The Rebbe had a design a long time ago to bring me to Crown Heights. And I was coming to New York on a regular basis, and because of students that I was teaching in Florida, many others came to study. And I'm the only woman in the world, so far as I know, that teaches ultra-Orthodox men cantorial music, cantors and rabbis. And a lot of my hours were being taken up and were being bought up by Lubavitcher Chassids. And every time I came to New York, I would spend Shabbos in Crown Heights. And the first Shabbos, which is actually going to be my 1-year anniversary this coming Shabbos, Shabbos Bereshis, I spent at the home of Rabbi Shane, who is probably the greatest moil in the world today, and he invited me to spend Shabbos at his home. And from that time on, I started coming every time I came to New York, and I would stay at the home of another one of my students. Well, one Shabbos, we decided that Motzei Shabbos I would do a master class. I would get together all of my students, and we would work together at this particular student's home. And he invited them all to come for a coffee after Motzei Shabbos, and we would work. Well, it was an unbelievable night, one that will always be carved in my memory, because the students arrived and some friends of theirs arrived, and all of a sudden I was surrounded, sitting at the piano with 11 bearded, black hats, black beards, kapota men. And I just looked at this, and I started to teach, and the voices started to fly, and it was beyond anything that I could ever describe. I ceased to be a person, really. I felt like I became nothing more than pure spirit, working what Hashem gave me the privilege to be. And I worked until 1 o'clock in the morning. The voices were flying. I couldn't stop. It was just beyond incredible and exhilarating. And I really went to sleep that night, and I slept like I hadn't slept in years. I got up in the morning, I went back into the city, and I taught a few hours, then I flew back to New York. The following day, my Rebbitzin called me, and she said, "So, how was New York?" "Oh, New York was great. I'm moving to Crown Heights." As I tell you today, I had no intention of saying that. Absolutely none whatsoever. It came out of my mouth. I listened to it as I listen every day when I'm teaching, and things come out of my mouth, and I know that I have to remember them, and so I write them down because they're messages from Hashem that I need to use for my students, and then I need to learn them so I can use them for my other students. At any rate, I heard myself saying this. The other side of the telephone was quiet for a few seconds, and then Shirley said, "Yeah, that's where you belong." And I said, "That's where I belong." And I got off the telephone, and the next phone call was my real estate man, and I told him, "I want to rent my house, so put it on the market. I'm moving to Crown Heights." I immediately called New York, and I set up my studio in the city again, and I said I was coming in 2 weeks. It was just before Pesach, and that was it. Basically, that was it. Oh, I did say to everybody that I was going to Crown Heights, and I was going to come home with an apartment after Pesach, after Passover. Everybody looked at me and said to me, "Yeah, okay, good hunting." Because to get an apartment in Crown Heights is like searching a needle in a haystack, and then some. Very, very difficult to find a place. And then, of course, Pesach is Yontif, so, excuse me, where are you going to find a place? Well, everything is exactly the way Hashem wants it to be. And if Hashem decides that it's going to be, it will be, like He's going to decide one day to send me my Zivug Rishon, my Beshet, and that'll be that. And all of the traveling will have been exactly in the right place at the right time, as everything is in this life. Needless to say, I did come home with an apartment that I found, Chol Moed, in Crown Heights, right off Montgomery Street, right in the center of Lubavitch, in a place where the Rebbe said, Kan tzivah Hashem et habracha, here is the place where God put His blessing. And my apartment is a blessing. It feels like a blessing. And it is a blessing. So, I can't even begin to tell you. I went home with this apartment. I started to pack, and I started to go, and I started to do as I've done so many times in my life. But this time, with an energy, and with a power, and with a gladness, and with a joy, and the simcha that you cannot even imagine. I knew I was going into a new life. I had a wonderful life in Florida. And Florida was very good for me. It was almost like a place where I came back together again. After losing my daughter in Florida 7.5 years ago, almost 8 years ago, I was very, 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 very torn. And I think the worst thing that any human being can go through in their life is to lose a child. It took me a long time to get over, and I don't think I'll ever get over, but to understand the ramifications of who she was in my life, what she gave to me, how much I loved her, and how she is really responsible for my very being here at this very moment. She and my father are up there in Gan Eden directing traffic. And I have to say that in many, many ways, she was my greatest shaliach. Because without her, my book, The Voice, A Spiritual Approach to Singing, Speaking, and Communicating, would never have been written in the first place. The only reason it was written was because in my last conversation with her, I promised her that I would write it. She made me promise also that I wouldn't stop painting, which I haven't done yet. I've got 400 paintings sitting in Florida, and I'm about to bring them to New York, and they're in my book, Soul Reflections. Some of them anyway, a few of them anyway. But basically, everything that I do in some way, shape, or form is connected to her, is dedicated to her, is dedicated to my father, is dedicated to the Rebbe. My life, in all of its phases, in everything that I do, has meaning only because it's dedicated in all ways to Hashem. So here I am in Crown Heights with this incredible, incredible apartment, getting blessings and being blessed by the place. Having experienced here my first Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur, and at this very moment, Sukkot. Experiencing Yiddishkeit every moment of my life, meeting the most extraordinary people, having Shabbos and Simchas with people whose lives are dedicated to a cause, whose lives are dedicated to Yiddishkeit, to being Jewish, to being in a place, to doing good deeds and mitzvahs, to sharing with each other and with the world a way of being, a way of living that I let go of. For years I let go of it. I didn't give it to my children. If there is anything that I'm sorry in my life, it's that I didn't give it to my children. It's that I didn't give them the Shabbos table. It's that I didn't give them yeshiva. It's that I didn't give them Beis Rivka, Beis Chana. It's that I didn't give them the foundation of the roots that in some great way I have and I had, but I didn't do it. And the way my life went, all of that was taken away, and the possibility I lost. And my tshuva, my return every day is trying to make up for that. And I know I can't. I know I can't go back. But I also know that God understands. And that He's putting me into situations every day in my learning and in my teaching and in my everyday approach to the people that I meet in the street and in the market and in the bookstore, wherever I go. When I speak for Chabad, when I'm speaking to you, is to give you something of me that maybe somewhere is going to make a difference, something that is going to strike a chord in your life, something that will have meaning, something that you can hold on to, something that maybe will change or make better, so that my life has a meaning, a word that I can share with you, a thought that I can give you, a person that I can bring into your life, into an interview, a question that maybe I can answer for you. Maybe it's just mundane things that we talk about, and maybe it's something really, really highly spiritual. Maybe in our relationship between each other, we can create a magic. We can create a moment that in your soul, in your nefesh, in your being, brings a soul reflection that connects you back to Hashem, that gives you the power, the desire to be again with Hashem. And if you're there, then maybe make it different or joyous or better just because we're in conversation. Rosh Hashanah this year was probably the greatest Rosh Hashanah of my life because I spent it at Crown Heights. Now, to get a seat at 770 Rosh Hashanah is totally an impossible situation. It doesn't exist. But again, the Rebbe wanted me to be close to seeing his Hasidim. He wanted me to be close to feeling the feelings. And I walked in, and Rebbetzin Stärke Krinsky walked in with me, and she said, "Do you have a seat?" I said, "No." She said, "I tried to get a seat for you, but I couldn't find one. But you come with me." And she took me into the second row of the women's section. You've never seen so many people in your whole entire life. And the place expands as people are coming in. The place gets larger. And I actually sat with half of my little body in a seat, and I was able to experience Rosh Hashanah in Crown Heights. So I'm going to share with you Rosh Hashanah in Crown Heights. Rosh Hashanah 5765. There is a place blessed where cobblestone streets and trees tell stories of holy men walking in paths of kindness, benevolence, compassion, lost in a myriad of thoughts, connected in spheres beyond time and space, their light illuminating dark nights of doubt and uncertainty, revolving night into day, ambiguity into assurance and faith. Sunshine plays in the eyes of travelers who come from far to witness, behold, observe, feel, ascend, holiness of lofty heights, serving with grace of soul on sacred ground, somehow far removed from the world, yet a part of it. Deep inside my center opens to the chants of ages, each sound vibrating deep inside my essence, healing wounds, mending, restoring a broken spirit, filling, surrounding, fortifying, invigorating, renewing, replenishing life. Gazing at their faces when they sing, holy radiance upon their countenance, swaying back and forth in unison like ripened chaff in the breeze, reaping harvests of ancient words, fulfilling truths of laws given eons ago, enveloped by melodies of heartfelt tones, spirit breath, sending sounds into the world that rebuild, restructure, create joy. Clouds cover the sky like soft down pillows, allowing a glimpse of Shekhinah, uplifting, inspiring, stirring, motivating, annulling past doings of wrong, clearing space for beauty of heart, mind, and soul, life's glow to find once more in the year ahead. Pray, soul. Connect to the endless source, limitless essence, pure truth. Disperse ego. Find joyfulness. Trust your senses and believe your thoughts. The gifts await. Love surrounds. Forgiveness is yours. My dear friends, have a gebenched, a blessed New Year. May Hashem shine His light upon you and give you peace and harmony and joy. May all of His blessings, give you and your families power and strength, and may you all live in joy this coming year. Please tune in again next week on Tuesday night at 9 p.m. Write to me at soulreflections9@AOL.com. I promise I will answer as many emails as I can. Go visit my websites at www.soulreflections-poetry.com. Music Visions International, musicvisions.intl.com. And write to me. Send me your thoughts. Send me your stories. Send me your feelings. Send me blessings. And find the way to truth and harmony